Watching news at Prime, let's bring you this discussion now. The sentencing of a man accused of murdering former ANC Youth League leader Sindiso Magaqa has been postponed by a week. Thabiso Zulu pleaded guilty in the Pietermaritzburg High Court earlier this month. His lawyer has asked for a lenient sentence. 4 people in total were arrested for the 2017 assassination in the area of Umzimkhulu. Mlungisi Ngalane, who was one of the accused, was declared unfit to stand trial following a psychiatric evaluation. The trial of the other 2 accused, Sibonelo Myeza and Mbulelo Mpofana, is expected to get underway in October. Well, the ANC KZN convener, Jeff Khatebe, explains what justice should look like.
We cannot interfere with the independence of the judiciary, but we believe that such capital offense deserves the toughest of sentences in statehood in the Republic of South Africa, especially the manner in which this murder was committed and also how they concealed this heinous crime. But we need to be thankful to the fact that eventually the conscience of the accused came to indicate that he has done this thing, so he must pay for what he has done.
Well, let's stay with this story, and we are joined now by Magaqa's friend, Thabiso Zulu, who talks to us from an undisclosed place, and that's because his life still remains under threat. Mr. Zulu, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Let's start with this moment where we are at right now. Thabiso Zulu confessing to this crime, and sentencing procedures are now underway. How does this moment feel for you? And I ask you this question keeping in mind what has come out in court, and that is that the state of health of the 71-year-old mother of Sindiso Magaqa is said to be a very, very sad occasion, because every time this case is spoken about in the media, the prosecutor telling the court that the mother just cries uncontrollably. Talk to us about how you're feeling.
Well, cautiously jubilant, the Mgambi, but it's correct and it's true that the mother has been going through a lot over the past 8 years. It's been a very lonely, cold, long walk to justice. At times, there were times when, as friends who were advocating for justice to prevail, we felt that we were alone and no one wanted to listen to us. It was like we're mad. It's like we're mad men. But the other thing, yesterday I had a long teleconference with the family members because I couldn't travel because I was preparing for the case today. And there were a lot of things that were very painful. The mother have just lost a brother whom they were burying the previous day. But she's also affected by the death of her son, who was a breadwinner, who made sure that the mother is comfortable and is living a life that any son would want for his mother.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of what Thabiso Zulu confessed to. And this is what is probably going to shock some viewers who may not have heard this information, and that is that one of the men, in fact, it was him, Thabiso Zulu, who was making the confession to this, and that is that the former city manager of the Umzimkhulu municipality, a man named Zweliphansi Skosana, and the former mayor, who is now late, Mluleki Ndobe, had paid 600,000 rand for the hit on Magaqa. Now, Mluleki Ndobe is someone that the KZN community would know very well, because he even rose up the ranks of the ANC to the level of a provincial leader in KZN. How does that make you feel when you find out this kind of information and, in particular, the involvement of senior ANC leaders?
We've been saying that for years. No one believed us. We looked like we're mad. We've been saying that political gangsters within our organization, within our own organization, it was not a third force work, but it was a work of our own cadres. So we've been saying it. And we mentioned that the state, in terms of members of crime intelligence agency, were involved in this. They procured, they bought a car, they bought an AK-47 that was used by Kainkani Jabulani Mtunge to assassinate a whistleblower, but to assassinate a member of the African National Congress. It's very sad that a man who gave his youth to the ANC was later killed by the ANC. But the other unfortunate part is that corruption was committed in his name and in his death when senior ANC leaders took a car which he was shot in, claimed that they were going to go and fix it, and defrauded the Department of Health. We've asked the Hawks, we've asked the NPA to look into it, but knowing that NPA is incapacitated and knowing that the Hawks, at times they operate like they are a paramilitary army of politicians, we don't know if they will act into it. Up until to this day, we're at a level and at a space where those who committed fraud and corruption at the Mzimkhulu Memorial Hall, a hall of shame, have not been arrested. I've been in interaction with the Advocate Shamila Batoy. I've been interacting with the former head of the Hawks, General Beya, to say those people must be prosecuted, and I've provided evidence that they must. Remember that he was killed for exposing such, and I'm at a level where I believe that that must still continue. It doesn't matter that he is still not alive. Remember that I'm the only person in the world whom he gave documents to relating to that heinous crime, which we call economic crime of stealing from the poor and stealing from the state. Nothing was done then, but we demand now that action must be carried out.
Yeah, and you say that you're the only person that Sindiso Magaqa gave these documents to. Is that the reason why you still are talking to us from a place of safety where it cannot be disclosed where you are?
Right now, as from in few days back, knowing that it's getting hotter for those who are involved, I don't move alone, I don't move around, even now. Remember that the state refused to protect me. The state even went to court to make sure that I'm not protected. And the people that were stopping that protection were politicians. Remember that I took bullets. For this to happen, there are a lot of things that we have not disclosed to public to make sure that this case gets to where it is now. We're to sacrifice our blood, our sweat, and our tears. And right now, I still remain unsafe, and I know that political gangsters working with intelligence officials will continue to mount an action to make sure that they eliminate some of us.
When we conclude the conversation, and you listened before our conversation, a very high-ranking member of the African National Congress, Jeff Radebe, is probably considered a veteran of the ANC. When you listen to people like him saying the law must take its course against those who were involved here, firstly, do you believe him? Do you say to yourself that at least in the ANC there are people who have a conscience? And what about members of the public? Do you believe that members of the public should take to heart what people like Jeff Radebe say here today?
Action speaks louder than words. The African National Congress, even if it lost sizable number of votes and they lost sizable number of influence in government, it can still do better. Still have got a president in this country who can launch an inquiry in the NPA, who can still launch an inquiry in the intelligence services to look into it. I've been maintaining over the years that my own shooting was not carrying without the involvement of the police. My own the persecution have been done by the very same members or people that are in the same office with the people that killed Sindiso Magaqa. So I've been persecuted by people in the very same office. One Colonel Langa Mhlongo, indicated in his report that those who were persecuting me must be criminally charged. Up until to this day, they have not been charged by the crime intelligence, and they have not been charged by the National Prosecuting Authority. But further than that, there is an information that is being hidden, a counterintelligence report that claims that the firearm and AK-47 that was carried by Kainkani, the Jabulani Mdunge, was bought through a slush fund of Crime Intelligence Agency. A car that was used in his killing, Sindiso Magaqa's killing, was bought through a Crime Intelligence slush fund. That counterintelligence report have not been declassified. In my own case, my two threat assessment are not part of the docket. The report or the briefing note that was sent by General Ketlas Tole when he was in Angola to say I must be protected was not made to part of the docket, and many other reports that are being covered up because the plan was that I must be killed. The NPA and the Political Killings Task Team are in possession of a recording of how politicians were involved in planning my killing and my assassination. Senior members of the ANC and senior members of the intelligence services were involved in plotting my own death. So before that happens, to look into all those matters, will not listen to what the Comrade Jeff is saying. Remember that the ANC, when it fought for liberation, when it produced a document which was called Ready to Govern, among other things, it spoke about safety and peace. It said people will be protected in this country. I had to go to court to ask my own government to protect me, and I was refused such. My government hired the best lawyers to make sure that a whistleblower and someone who is their own member must not be protected so that he's going to be killed.
Thabiso Zulu, thank you very much for your time. A close friend of Sindiso Magaqa and someone who was entrusted with information, as you've heard him say, detailing the corruption that went on about the Umzimkhulu Hall that he calls the Hall of Shame. I just want to conclude this, and we're done with the conversation with Thabiso Zulu, and I thank him very much for your time, Thabiso. The state lawyer handling this case, his name is Elvis Gueka. These are the quotation marks that he made in court during the course of this sentencing procedures. He was talking about Sindiso Magaqa's mother, and I quote, "His mother needs counseling and psychological assistance. Just think about a 71-year-old who is also a diabetic who needs medical treatment. Sindiso was a sole person who was supporting his family." That's where things are for this family.